Welcome, folks. My name is Fernando. Ufret here at Chillsville Presents. We got a special Chillsville edition with Mr. Charlie Griffiths from
Hello.
UK.
hmm
How's it going, Charlie? You doing all right?
I'm doing good, man. Good to see you again.
It's great to see you. It's great to have you here at Chillsville.
Yeah.
So you're a guitar player and a composer, and you're part of a legendary ensemble, prog ensemble, Haken.
Yeah, this is all true. It's all true.
Facts first. Facts first. I wrote them down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you joined the band back in 2008. And 2000, we say 2008, and I think a bunch of things. I think, first of all, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
2008 it feels like yesterday, but it's really
Just,
13
yeah.
years ago. What,
Yes. Time is a bizarre thing, right?
right? Well, 14 years ago. 14 years ago. Man. And before that, you were playing like Linear Sphere and Anchorhead.
hmm
So tell me a little bit about that. How was your transition from one place to the other?
Well, I think at the time I was just doing some gigs with this project called Anchorhead, which was myself and a friend called Pete Rinaldi. And we, for some reason, thought it would be a good idea to play the original Star Wars trilogy in a death metal setting, basically.
Yes.
So it was just, it was, it was like one of those things where you see it was kind of quite a kind of common thing. You would see the Imperial March played in a metal style, and so we were just like, man, why stop at the Imperial March, where you got the TIE fighter battle, you got the Force theme, you got all these beautiful, amazing John Williams themes that could be played on guitar. So we kind of made an arrangement, ended up doing the entire original trilogy, and rewrote the script into something that rhymed and could be growled.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were doing some gigs around London and whatnot, doing that, and it was the biggest waste of time ever. No, I mean, it was,
No, dude, I'm sitting over here like, wow,
yeah,
this
no,
is freaking amazing. And is
no.
there anywhere we can hear this?
Yeah, you can. It's like I've got the demos that we had on my YouTube channel,
Nice.
uh,
Okay.
just, just Anchorhead demos, and there's some live footage that people like audience videos that people have put up here and there. Yeah, it was. Yeah, what I mean by that, it was a massive undertaking.
Oh, of course.
Figure everything out and transcribe everything and like put it on the guitar and learn it and all that stuff. And it was just purely as a learning experience. Trying to figure out what makes John Williams music tick, and and just express our love for Star Wars.
Yes.
And yeah, it was just kind of that was what I was doing, and that was, I guess, what was keeping me on the live scene in London at the time.
Yeah.
And we just would cross paths with other bands and get to know them and stuff. And another band we crossed paths with was this band Haken, who I went to see, as a fan of just prog music. I went to check out this band that people were talking about in the local venue, and I was just completely blown away that there was a band doing this type of music, this kind of colorful, amazing, kind of creative, progressive metal stuff. And I was like, oh, damn it. I wish I was in a band like that. And, yeah, and it's just kind of hard to find people, right? That's the toughest thing about doing a band, is finding the people
Yeah.
that are like-minded and want to do it as well. So I just kind of thought, I just carried on thinking, I'll never find a bunch of guys that are into that stuff like as much as me. And so we just carried on doing our thing. And then if 6 months later or something like that, I bumped into the then bass player of Haken, Tom McLean. Bumped into him at Waterloo Station,
Wow.
Just cross paths randomly. I was like, "Oh man, how's it going? Like, how's Haken doing?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, the guitarist and keyboard player quit
Oh,
to do follow other careers. Like Matt went into law, and he was the guitar player, Matt Marshall, and Pete Jones. He was the keyboard player at the time. He left to pursue physics as a career, and
wow.
so basically, yeah, I was like, oh man, well, sorry to hear that, but mind if I audition for the guitar?
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
This is interesting. This is interesting.
yeah.
Just so happens.
Yeah, I know a guy. I could do it. Yeah, so I auditioned for the band, and they gave me the role. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, man. We're pretty glad they did.
Yeah.
You bring something to Haken that it's just, I think you're the I don't want to say the aggressive part, because you are a little bit more metal than the other guys.
Yeah, I guess
But you bring like the grit to it, right?
I guess my history, of being a music fan is a little bit more in the sort of old school metal, like thrash and death metal kind of stuff, like in the 90s. I'm just a little bit older than the other guys, where I just kind of have a slightly different kind of rooted in a slightly earlier genre of metal.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of my unique perspective that I bring to the band.
Well, the mix works perfectly. I mean, and for those who haven't heard, your new album, when they compare it to Haken, then they'll see where most of your stuff comes from. Because it's really hard to just take a band that and say, okay, this is this and this and this and this is this, without listening to it from another perspective. And now that we have Tiktaalika, it's very evident where a lot of Haken things come from. And I wanted to ask you a thing about the name Haken. I've researched it a couple of times. I don't know what to believe. So that's
the way it's going to stay.
There's
I don't know, man. The band existed before I joined a couple of years into Haken.
Yeah.
So it was already a name before I joined. So I don't know either what the truth is.
I found a definition of the word Haken. It's an adjective, and it's a word for something that can't be described.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I thought, that's the legit thing right there. Because when I was introduced to Haken, my brother Bruno introduced me to Haken. I went to Florida to visit for Thanksgiving, and I've been looking for new stuff to listen to, because even with the genres that I really, really love, I'm very picky with the music. Like even in prog, where the universes move around so much and everything is possible, I'm like, that prog is not for me. Very, very picky. And when I heard it, I was just mind blown. I was like, how have I not heard this before? Where are all these voices coming from? All this metal and all this harmony and wow, it's beautiful. And that's when I really got into it, and it opened up a whole new prog world that I didn't know. And talking about prog, we talked about earlier before you guys were here. Charlie was talking about how prog, everybody's looking for the definition of the word prog or progressive.
Yeah.
And he told me that basically it's just, art. Right?
Yeah, I think of it as it's as art music. So it's something that's it's just you're creating it for the enjoyment of it in and of itself. And you're not trying to use it as a vehicle to become famous or to I don't know what. It's like, I mean, a lot of genres are like that, but that's how I think of it.
And in a way, it's an educational vehicle as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it's a blank canvas where you can kind of do what you like. It's like, and that's one thing I like about the name Haken too is that it's kind of a blank canvas, right? You see that word and it doesn't really suggest anything,
Yeah.
which I think is a good thing. It's like
Oh, definitely.
Like Cannibal Corpse can only do one type of music now, right? They can.
So Cannibal Corpse plays gypsy jazz now. No,
Yeah, like Cannibal
no.
Corpse can only play death metal, like brutal death metal, which I love Cannibal Corpse, but yeah, it's like if we had a certain name that kind of pigeonholed us, it might kind of be detrimental to the music that we want to make. So I kind of like that. It's kind of like it doesn't really suggest anything stylistically, so that kind of gives us a lot of free reign. It's a blank canvas to do whatever we want.
So let's you have another canvas now.
Yeah, right.
Which is the Tiktaalika, which is years after Haken, comes the opportunity out of the worst thing to happen to the world, which was, the lockdown.
Yeah.
And it's born out of the need to make music, right?
Yeah.
It's like everything that happened during the lockdown, man. We were supposed to meet 1 month. No. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, actually. So I played my last show March 13th, 2020, and we were going to meet in Minneapolis a week and a half to 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
And it just full halt. Yeah, no. Everybody go home.
Everyone go home and stay there.
Go home. Yeah, it was brutal, and there's a lot of things that came out, a lot of beautiful things that came out of people's minds when they were left alone with an instrument during that lockdown. And I think that Tiktaalika is a deeper perspective of how you became who you are today, and it's genius, man. It's freaking amazing. I mean, everything from the name and choosing the concept. I mean, before we get into the actual the album and talking about the process, I would like to talk about your beginnings with anthropology and just your thing for dinosaurs and for all kinds.
This is completely unplanned, but I just thought that.
Hey, Stegosaurus right there. There you go.
He's gonna think I'm a complete nutter,
dude. Dinosaurs are cool. Dinosaurs are awesome.
Yeah, of course.
So
I guess like when you sort of put together an album. For me, anyway, you don't at the time really know why you're doing it, and it's only afterwards you sort of realize, oh, that's why I did that, this and that. And so I guess like with this, it's sort of really like I'm just sort of realizing more and more with Tiktaalika. It's really everything in there is like things I loved when I was younger, in the kind of early 90s. Time, those were kind of my formative years, really. So everything from the type of music that was coming out, progressive metal as we know it now, kind of started then. With bands like Fate's Warning and Dream Theater. I had those in my ears along with Cynic and Death, and a lot of fusion music as well, like tribal tech, and all that kind of stuff was kind of feeding my musical brain, along with like being at college and studying. I wasn't studying music yet. I was just at college studying English literature and art and geology. These kind of three subjects that I kind of landed on to study, and I guess like that really informed who I am as a person. Those kind of those three subjects combined, and a lot of that comes out on this album, and I didn't realize it at the time, but just looking back, it's like, oh yeah, this is just my kind of love letter to the early 90s, I suppose, in a way.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great, man. I didn't know you studied English literature. I did as well.
Oh, yeah?
For the first 3 years. Then I switched to music full time because, there's a thing when you get pushed, like you got to do something. You got to do something that'll, you can make a living and blah, 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 blah. And I've been playing guitar, playing gigs since I was 14. So I already had the musical industry mind. But I studied literature for almost a bachelor's degree. And then I'm like, no.
Yeah, I wasn't quite there, but yeah, I mean, definitely around that time, I wasn't set on doing a musical career. Or I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I was just kind of following the kind of educational system here, basically, and you had to pick 3 subjects, and I just picked 3 things I was interested in.
But that's a pretty cool combination.
Yeah.
My sister studied geology as a bachelor's degree, and she thought it was pretty cool to do a Tiktaalika album.
Oh, cool. That's great. That's good to hear. Yeah.
So, Charlie, I see that just to take a step back, because I wanted to ask about this just briefly. Do you still play a classical guitar from time to time? Because I know you started on one.
Yeah, well, yeah, I did. I still have it.
Awesome.
That original one I got when I was like 8 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I play it from time to time, but it needs new strings. Man.
They always do.
Restringing a nylon string guitar is like difficult.
Man, it's what I most do here, because I play the classical all the time. But when I restring the electrics, I'm like, why can't this just be that easy? Just
you have to teach me how to do it, like tying a knot and all that. Yeah.
So there's a much simpler way to just kind of do not so many, because you have to wind it up quite a bit. Yeah. But if you anchor the string around, you could kindly do like a fake like a fake tuner, a locking tuner. So it's like a nylon hack.
Okay. Yeah.
Well. I'll tell you about it. So, man,
I need to know this stuff.
No, of course. And it says, it's hacking, guitar hacking. It's always useful. So the way that the album starts, because it's concept album, of course. It starts with like heavy battery-ish, and of course with the play with the Tiktaalika kind of theme and everything. I thought that was just first of all, it was nostalgic. So when you put yourself in the 90s, I put myself in the 90s because I grew up more or less. I don't know how old you are, Charlie, but I think we're more or less the same age. I think I'm an early 80s child raised in the 90s. So all of this just resonated with me. I was like, holy crap. And just the melodies coming in and coming in and coming in, and kept coming until the boom, in comes the entire band. And you have so many people collaborate with you here that are just experts at what they do. I remember just going through the list, Darby Todd, played with The Darkness, Gary Moore, Key Marcello, Jolyn Turner, man. I mean, Jolyn Turner, dude, that clicks things in me. I'm like, oh, Yngwie. I remember when you...
What an album. That Odyssey album is my favorite.
Gaze into my crystal ball. Oh, man. See, I really, dude.
Yeah, every song on that is that's like a greatest hits album.
Right?
Right, yeah.
I still remember having the VHS from Live in Leningrad.
Yeah.
And it just, I had to make a copy of it because it was getting ruined by all the times I rewinded and forward and rewinded and forward and rewinded and forward.
Yeah, that was one on my shelf, definitely.
Man. Thomas Giles in there, Jordan Rudess, of course.
Yeah.
And I want to say, guys, I got the chance. Charlie gave me the privilege to listen to these things before the album came out, so I
Yeah, well,
couldn't.
yeah, you had the demos, right?
Yeah,
I
I
sent you
couldn't
the
talk.
demos. Yeah,
I
yeah,
couldn't talk about it. I was like, "Oh man, this is so awesome!" I don't
yeah.
know. It was incredible, and everything just wow. Uh, so we've heard in different different interviews that you've already done. Did the Prog Report? You did Guitar World. You did a couple. Well, we've done kind of like a dozen of them by now. I can imagine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How you chose these guys. But do you wanna? Is there anything you wanna tell us about? A specific story about maybe Jordan or Darby or just the process of it.
Yeah, I mean, the process was like, as it went on, it kind of evolved constantly. I was toying with different ideas of like how to release it, which, at the time I sent you the demos. I was still thinking, how am I going to put this out? Should I do it as a self-release thing? Should I do it as like release a single every so often kind of thing? And then eventually decided to do it through a label. I showed it to Thomas at Inside Out, and he graciously listened to it and said, "Yeah, we can do this. This will be cool." So it was, the whole thing was like just like a learning experience and just me figuring out what to do with this music all the time, kind of thing. But yeah, it kind of luckily these guys that I had on it just kind of were pretty cool and chilled out. And where was I going? I don't know where I was going with that thought, but it was just like I think it was just like that was like one of the cool things was like if everyone involved with it was so relaxed as well about it. Like Darby playing the drums, it was like I guess for him as well, it was like we were in lockdown and everyone was kind of trying to figure out stuff to do. How can I keep busy?
Yeah.
So that was kind of one good thing. Like he's one of the busiest drummers in the UK. Like all the names you listed. He's like a session drummer. That's what he does. He plays with lots of different people, and in arenas as well as like pub gigs. So he's always playing. He's always busy. I kind of sent him a couple of songs and was like, "Oh, do you think you could maybe want to play on this stuff?" kind of thing. And he was super into it straight away, kind of thing. And it was great that he had a home recording setup, and it was just really nice and relaxed. I would finish a demo and send it to him.
Yeah.
And he kind of prides himself on like a quick turnaround kind of thing. And he didn't disappoint. He was like every song within 24 hours he'd sent me the final tracks. So it was like it was just a great experience. We never actually met in person. Even though he lives down the road from me.
Yeah.
Everything was done over text and email. And it was just kind of super easy and quick. He would.
That's incredible, though. I mean, you could live halfway around the world and collaborate with any musician right now.
Yeah,
I've dedicated most of the lockdown to doing this with other musicians on YouTube, and just it's just so easy, with compatibility. See, that's the morning here, dude. It's still morning, man. What's going on? I'm sorry.
And he was just fantastic. Like the fact that he wasn't. I knew he was like a metal fan. I've talked to him in the past about Meshuggah and Pantera.
Yeah.
He's just like a fan of that stuff. But up until this album, he'd never recorded any metal.
Oh.
So it was like he was kind of excited about it. I get to do some I get to do fast double kicks.
Yeah.
And no one's going to tell me to take them out. And I'm like, no, put more in. But so it was kind of great, just to kind of share a fun thing with someone. That's that was kind of the vibe of it, really. And it was the same with everyone. All the singers, Thomas, Tommy Rogers. He's most famous as the BT Bam singer.
Yeah.
But his solo project, he goes by Thomas Giles. And then you got Daniel de Jong from the Netherlands. He was in a band called Textures, who's I'm a big fan of. And this guy Vladimir Lalish is a Serbian kind of crazy opera singer, but with some kind of like Mike Patton kind of Mr. Bungle kind of element to him as well. So it was, these are all people that I'd met along the way, you know, from touring and just being with Haken, right? And it was just cool just to be able to, you know, not pick up the phone, pick up the email. And
I mean, it's all this networking with all these incredible musicians. It's very important for, you know, guys, musicians that are listening out there, watching. Networking is not only important; it's essential to, you know, growing community. And it's collaborating helps new artists as well as older artists to, you know, come up with incredible ideas like this. Like I got a friend who is recording with Jordan as well right now. His name is Jan Rivera. I'll send you his stuff. He's always been in LA for years, like for a decade, and he's always worked with a lot of musicians, a lot of artists, and he's like, hey, I just want to record an album and do what I've always done. And when he said like, who wants to join, everyone literally raised their hands up like, I'll do it. Yeah. And it's very it's essential for a musician's kind of the development to do networking with other musicians. And it doesn't matter the genre, you know, you'll always find common ground in music.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I don't even think of it as networking really. It's just kind of you know, just be nice to people, right?
Yeah. Man, there's something we say around here. We have a hashtag on my live shows, is choose kindness. Yeah. It's something a friend of mine started just saying in our show. And man, just being kind to people will, you know, change the world, if you will, you know.
Yeah.
Just being kind and being friendly will get you so many friends and so many good relationships, and everything in your life will just work out.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah.
So Charlie, let's talk about all those chuggy stuff and all those tasty guitar riffs. Let's talk about Rig, man. Everybody knows you've been playing Neural DSP and Kiesel for a while.
Yeah.
And used mostly Archetype, right? Archetype?
Yeah.
Archetype Gojira?
Yeah, I've got the Nolly one, I've got the Gojira one. Those are and the Pliny one.
Nice. Yeah, the Pliny one is awesome.
Those are the kind of three that I gravitated towards when demoing this album. Yeah. And it's just, you know, a lot of the enjoyment of creating it came from those plugins, because it's like we're just at this place now with guitar plugins that it just sounds so good and inspiring and easy, right? You just have to have a $200 interface and a guitar cable and a USB cable, and then you can get going. You've got a world-class guitar sound that you can so you can get a really good idea of how your song is going to sound as a finished product. And it's just inspiring. That was a lot of the fun, was doing it like that.
There's I recently got the Archetype Petrucci to
me too.
around with. It's pretty solid. I did a collaboration with a couple of friends over New Year's, and we all decided to do it on the plugin. We were so and many of us play boogies or play like really real tube amps. Yeah. And we're like, dude, this feels like it's moving air. You know, this feels like it's like it's the real thing. It booms, and wow, it just, I really, well, I'm not thinking about it. I'm planning to get a Neural DSP, the
Yeah, the quad cortex.
The core cortex,
Yeah.
because it's an incredible tool. I mean, it's an entire rig that you can fit in your hand.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, myself and Rich just used them on our recent tour with Symphony X.
Oh,
and,
yeah. I was there.
Yeah, right.
I was there. It was
Yeah.
incredible. It was incredible. Sounded amazing. And I will play a little clips from that show here,
Cool.
so you guys can experience the epicness and chugginess.
Yeah, and it was just those. We had the quad cortex, that's one each. Although you if you just have one, you can route it so you can have two guitar players and a bass player using the same unit, right? But,
Yeah, the 4 cores.
It's pretty amazing. And it's such a it's like this size, it was really cool to have and cool to use. Just very easy just to have it in your bag, and then set up is like 30 seconds. And yeah, it worked like a charm every show. There was no problems. Yeah.
I mean, it was probably one of the most well balanced shows I have heard in a really, really long time.
Great. Yeah.
And I'm talking about not being in a. I was right next to you, at the other side of the stage, and everything sounded incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no like floor monitors in your face. The stack of 2 4x12s, over everything else. It was just everything sounded.
We basically have a silent stage, except for the drums, and that's really like our sound guy loves that. Of course, he's got like complete control. So really, like, the only problem he really has is cymbals, because that's the one thing that can really get out of control in some rooms. That's pretty good. That's the only problem.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Nowadays, everything is just DI, and we're all on in-ears. So it's every show is very consistent, especially with a modular floor unit like that. It's it's going to sound the same every show.
Yeah, and consistency is something that's really hard to achieve when you're just going venue to venue. Yeah. And even though you have your own sound guy, when you get to the different venues, it's still a different space, fills up differently with people.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
The place that we were at in St. Louis, it was more. It was longer than it was deeper.
Yeah.
So the sound kind of spread out differently, but everything sounded incredible. Everything sounded incredible. Yeah. I mean, you could hear every single part, and sometimes they get lost in the mix because just waves crashing and the venue, everything sounded amazing. And that Kiesel, man, that Kiesel 8-string. Tell us a little bit about your guitar, because first of all, is it something we can call Kiesel and get? Like it's like I want the Charlie Griffiths.
I mean, it's not like it's. I mean, I'm sure they have it on file. Yeah.
Cool.
I do. Like, there is a guy that did that. He was like, "Oh, I like your guitar." I was like, "Well, just tell him you want my guitar," and they built it. Yeah, like that's the cool thing about Kiesel is like every guitar is made to measure.
Yeah.
They do have some in stock guitars. Usually you have to tell them what you want and they build it. You can totally call them up and tell them to bring up my specs, and you can get the same guitar. Yeah, it's like
So tell us about your guitar. As far as
Well, it's called, the model's called a Vader, right?
It's a Vader model, yeah.
Which I instantly had to just have one because it's called a Vader.
It's called a Vader, of course.
It's cool, man. It's like it's a headless, compact guitar, very similar in style to the Steinbergers of the 80s and 90s, which I definitely ever since seeing Cynic live, in the early 90s. I saw him at the Marquee in London. And yeah, he's, Paul Masvidal and Jason Gobel were both using Steinbergers. And they were just like, I thought they were the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Kind of looked like guitars from the future, right?
Yeah.
They totally fit into Star Wars.
Yeah.
Totally fit into Star Wars, yeah.
And I always wanted one. Man, if I ever did a Steinberger 8-string, I would, which they never did, but then kind of Kiesel did something similar. I was like, oh, man, there it is. Got to get one.
I have never had a Kiesel. I haven't had the pleasure of trying one either, but I was really curious about yours, especially because I don't have an 8-string.
Yeah.
For now. For now. It's coming. It's coming. Soon.
Oh, man.
Then we'll have to have another different conversation, Charlie.
I bet I know what it is as well.
Oh, do you think so? It's a nylon 8-string. It's a nylon 8-string. No.
Oh, is it? Oh, is it not?
No, it's not. You know it's not. So,
my friend has one. Is it Ortega?
Yes.
The company had. Yeah, I've played one of those, and
there's
a nylon string 8-string is great.
Yeah, and the 7-string and a 10-string as well.
Right.
Like a decacord. Man, it's just. I'm with nylon guitars, I haven't gone extended range.
Mm-hmm.
I went extended range with the electrics, of course, got a 7-string because I had material to study. And when I picked up a 7-string for the first time, well, as an adult, because I did pick up one as a kid, and I just wanted to play the mirror over and over and over and over, and that's it, because, I was 14 years old. What else do you want to do? And when I picked up a 7-string as an adult, I then, knowing a little bit more about music and how, harmony works and how, just in general, music intuitively works. It was a really big opener for creativity because even though it's just one added string, it opens up a whole world of possibilities. And people usually tend to think this is just going to get heavier and heavier and heavier. And not necessarily. And that's one of the things that I admire most about Haken and the composition of Haken is that you guys aren't focused on just chugging on that 7th and 8th string all the time. You make it natural and musical to use those notes, and they resonate and they come out clearly. It's not just about, because that's what everybody thinks to me. Like, oh man, this is gonna get heavy. This is gonna be heavy. This is gonna get heavy.
Yeah.
It's a musicality it's incredible, and that's another thing that opened my mind up into extended range.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not only because everybody here knows that I'm a big Petrucci fan, but.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that time. That when I got into 7-string stuff. It was like, like Steve Vai. It was one of the first guys, and then Korn. Which I love, right? But the album that got me was Fear Factory, Demanufacture, and that was the album. I thought, man, I need a 7-string. I want to play these riffs, and it was you could just get a 6-string and down tune it, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But I guess I was from like a mentality of, from a reality, I should say, of like not, I couldn't have like loads of guitars.
No.
I didn't have the money, right? So I just had to sell a guitar to buy a guitar, kind of thing. So it was just like, okay, I want to play these Fear Factory riffs, so I'm just going to have to get a 7-string, right? And then I'm going to have to sell my 6-string, and then that'll be my guitar, this 7-string. So I think at the time it was I don't remember where I got it from, but I just bought it off a guy, and it was an Ibanez Sabre,
Oh yeah.
So it's like it's like a kind of Frank Gambale
Yeah.
looking thing, but it was black and it had 7 strings. And it was just, man, that was an awesome guitar.
Yeah, man.
And
I've been in 7 strings. We're the pioneers of 7 strings too. So,
yeah.
yeah.
And then and then Petrucci came out with his. I remember seeing that live scenes from New York, and he had that guitar, and I was like, man, that's the one I need. And I still have it. Let me just grab it. I want to show you.
Yeah. Charlie's got JP7, which must be Mystic Dream too, right?
Sorry about that.
Must be JP7 Mystic Dream.
Nah, not Mr. Green, but yeah. So I had to get that color because that was the.
Oh, what that is the.
So this is
the original. That's the original one.
The original.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the first 50.
Wow.
Ever made.
Wow. So that doesn't have Crunch Lab and Liquefier yet.
Nah, I mean, actually, I did replace the bridge with something. It might be a liquefier later on. But yeah, the first 50 were hand signed. So I have
look at that.
That's how I know it. Yeah, I think this was I had to order this way in advance, and I think this was the first one in Europe.
Wow.
I remember that being a thing at the time.
Wow, dude, Charlie,
yeah.
that is a piece of
I'll
history.
never sell that
right
one.
There. No, never. That's a piece of JP history right there, man.
But it was the same thing. So I had to sell my Ibanez 7-string to buy that.
To buy that one, yeah.
And the guy I sold it to was this guy Herman Lee, right? Which now he's a huge superstar.
I think he's still around, right?
Yeah.
Run to him on Twitch all the time.
Oh, really? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think then this was even pre-Dragon Force. I think he was just starting the band, but they were called Dragon Heart.
Okay.
At the early years.
Well, it's power metal. You have to have Dragon something. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. They changed the name due to the movie Dragon Heart or something like that.
Oh.
And but yeah, I used to see him. He was just like one of the guys you just saw at gigs all the time.
Yeah.
And we just sort of became friendly just from going to the same shows.
Yeah.
And and then he bought that guitar off me, and that was like he was telling me like that he liked the neck on it so much that became like the contour that they used on his signature model.
On his signature model.
So
yeah, nice.
I thought it was pretty cool that.
Yeah. I mean,
I had a small hand in that.
That's kind of like the goal right there, right? The guitar you've felt most comfortable with in your life, give it to a company. It's like, okay, replicate these things.
Yeah.
And right? Yeah. If I could have these things forever, freaking amazing. So when did you exactly get into the 8-string then?
That was around the time we were doing the Anchorhead stuff. Actually.
Okay.
I don't have that guitar.
That's okay.
But it's but yeah, that was like that was pretty early on. I think that was whenever Meshuggah released Nothing, like that like the first 8-string album. Which they didn't even use 8 strings on it. It was
just tuned differently, right?
7 strings tuned down because they didn't. No one made an 8-string.
Yeah.
So it was myself and Pete who were doing Anchorhead. We were like, "This sounds super heavy and amazing. we need to be able to make this sound." So he's, Pete's like a real kind of, he knows everything about guitars kind of guy. So, we kind of did some research. Actually, the research we made was reading an interview with Meshuggah. and they somewhere in there, like Martin Hagstrom mentioned the scale length was 30-inch.
Okay.
So we just sort of approached a luthier somewhere, just a guy that sort of he had a CNC machine, and we just sort of drew some guitar shapes and gave him the measurements for the neck and stuff, and he kind of gave us the body and neck, and Pete put them together, and
wow.
We got the Lundgren pickups because that was the only guy making 8-string pickups.
8-string pickups, yeah.
So we kind of just did it really as like we want to sound like Meshuggah.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But now it's like everyone. Now everyone does that, right?
But that's incredible that you would,
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, you couldn't buy an 8-string then.
No, you had to had it made. You got to get it made.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna buy an 8-string guitar, Charlie. You got to make it yourself. Yeah.
Which I still have that one. It's still they sound amazing.
Man.
But because they're such a long scale, yeah, man, they're tough to play.
Yeah,
they're tough to play. It's hard work, but they sound great.
Yeah, I mean,
and I just sort of continued that in when I joined Haken.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of continued using that guitar for the same reason, right? It's like I didn't have a lot of guitars to choose from, so it's like, I'm just going to carry on playing this one because it sounds good.
Yeah,
and and it kind of lent itself to like their music. They had some like 7-string songs already, so I was able to play those using the B string. And then because I had this other string, I was like, oh, we can have a couple of lower notes as well. So it's just kind of that, really. It was just like having that guitar and having that as my main guitar at the time. It just kind of lent itself to having these lower notes, So it's just really a fact of not having much money.
Yeah,
only I could only have one guitar, right? So it was it had to be
the one that does everything. Yeah, yeah, man.
So I never wanted to be like touring and have to bring like 4 guitars with me.
Yeah,
for different tunings, So I just want one guitar that I can play all the notes on. So that sort of goes back to your point of, we're not always riffing on the eighth string.
No, man.
So we got some songs that don't need it, So I could totally grab a 6-string and play it, but it's probably just because I don't have a 6-string with me, because I don't want to carry all that, So
but it's incredible how you've incorporated all these things. And to all those guitar players out there who don't know the struggle, this is how it was back in the day. You had to sell one guitar to get another, or mow a million lawns and do chores and do odd jobs and stuff to get a guitar. And many times they weren't accessible. I mean, I didn't have my real high-end guitar, my first real high-end guitar, until 2015.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean electric, because I've had all kinds of Epiphones and knockoffs and all kinds of guitars that I could get my hands on, because back when I was in Puerto Rico, if you wanted a really good guitar and a high-end guitar, it would cost you more because of shipping and all the extra costs.
Yeah.
And I got my first Majesty in 2015, and I couldn't even believe it. I'm like, is this what playing nice
is this a real one?
What is this?
Yeah.
This feels like I shouldn't touch it,
Yeah.
And
those Majesties are amazing.
Yeah. I started going into the different models, and I just stuck with the Majesty just because it has everything I need. But
I'd like the 8-string one. I'd like to try that.
It's
I'm assuming that's the one you've got.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I can't confirm or deny it, but it's a beautiful thing that might come to Chillsville soon.
Oh, maybe.
I need to learn how to play the 8-string. I need to learn how to play it, and studying your music is going to help so much. And I mean all of it. The Tiktaalika, the Haken music, everything is going to, and it's two different perspectives, which is that it gives me a lot of, I want to say possibilities of defining another chapter in my life, because since we talked a little bit about this before, I've always chosen to work over. Well, I create, but mostly what I do is entertain, and these extended range instruments bring out my creative side almost instantly. So I can't wait to pick up an 8-string and see what it does to me. I know it's gonna just be a brain fart, because first of all, like, wow, 2 more strings. I was just getting used to the extra one.
But with Tiktaalika, I went the other way with it. By that point, I'd done so much 8-string stuff.
Did you need it 8-string
with
stuff?
Haken? Right? I did Tiktaalika all on a 6-string.
Oh.
So it's all on 6-string in drop D.
All of it is on 6-string. Yeah. Oh, okay. The
whole thing, yeah.
Cool.
So that was just one way of, just sort of prompting a different mindset. It's just a.
Yeah.
For most people, it probably means like what you're talking about.
That goes to show you, children. Heaviness is an attitude. Heaviness is an attitude. It's not. It's the Megadeth perspective. What I like to call the Megadeth perspective. Megadeth sounds super duper heavy. 6-string. That's really how I approached it. Really, it was like I was, these bands I was listening to back in the early 90s. Like the lowest it went was D. Yeah. With either drop D,
being in drop D, or bands like Death being in D standard.
D standard tuning, yeah.
And those, you listen to those and they're still heavy, and it was like no one ever thought this is not heavy.
Of course.
It was like the riffs and the music and the grooves that made it sound heavy. So I kind of wanted to kind of almost prove to myself that I could do that still.
Yeah.
I could kind of tap into that kind of mindset and not just automatically sound heavy because it was low.
Correct. Right? Yeah.
So that was kind of one challenge I set myself with Tiktaalika, was to put myself, constrain myself a little bit.
So you have confirmed your hypothesis, sir. It does sound heavy. It sounds heavy. It sounds heavy and it sounds awesome. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. See? And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who thought that, who could have never imagined that this was all done on a 6-string. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
It's a
yeah.
It's awesome. So Charlie, I just recently, mentioned a little bit earlier, went to the Haken show in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I know you guys have just finished recording some material. Yeah, dude, first of all, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. Dude, we've been trying to meet for 2.5 years. And it's great to finally see you play live.
That just reminded me of when you were saying about you having, we were about to meet and then everyone got told to go home. It was we were in New Orleans, I think. Oh no, somewhere. Where were we?
Right before going up to the Midwest.
Somewhere like that. We got we woke up ready to play a show on the bus, and then the driver said, "Oh, everyone's going home." And we were like, "What? We got 2 more weeks to do." No, you're flying home. It was. Then everyone knows what happened with the pandemic. It was a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
And but going back out with Symphony X, we ended up actually arriving at some of the venues, and they had posters up for the Devin Townsend Haken tour. We never got to that venue back then, but so it was kind of cool that we were actually able to get right back on the horse, and we kind of finally arrived at some of the venues that we missed out on playing a couple of years ago. And it was like, man, we're that really felt like we're back, back in business.
2 weeks out of a tour and a grind like that is a lot of shows.
Yeah.
And you guys sound eager and excited to have been playing. It's the whole thing. We got the whole. We got the metal show experience and the prog show experience. which was
Yeah.
that was my probably my second or third concert after things went well, not back to normal, but
Yeah.
eased up. Let's call it eased up. And yeah, man, it was everything I expected and more. And we got to hear some new music. First of all, I got to hear some Vector stuff, some Virus stuff, and we got to hear Nightingale. Now, I was expecting Vector as back in the tour in 2020.
Yeah.
But then Virus happened during lockdown as well.
Yeah.
And now Nightingale, man, it was like listening to the three albums for the first time all over, and
Nice.
and Nightingale is just, that's the only thing we have from the new stuff until now, right?
Yeah. So far.
You guys are finishing the
Yeah,
process
so
of the new.
we just put that song out. That's going to be on the next album. But we just put it out as a little single before the tour, just so we could, just have something new to show, and something new to play. Even though like we never toured with the Virus stuff. In a way, it kind of felt like an old album by that point because it was so long ago. You just want to stay fresh. You don't want to rest on your laurels ever. So it's just like we just felt it important that we put a new track out, and just to show ourselves, if anything, we're kind of we're active and we're a band again. We're doing it. Yeah. So now, and as soon as we got back from that US tour, we started recording the rest of the songs that are going to be on the next album, and that's kind of we're just kind of wrapping up now, and it's the files are now in the hands of Jens Bogren, who's the guy that mixed the Mountain and Affinity.
Yeah, so he
the
knows
songs
you guys
are,
very well.
Yeah. And, the songs are kind of more in that vein, I would say, like less focus on the sort of heavy guitars and the sort of that's how Vector and Virus were written, kind of as kind of guitar albums.
Yeah. Vector's a pretty heavy album.
Yeah,
pretty in your face kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, and I love them both. The Mountain and Vector, I love them both equally, but they're so different. And that's where the Haken element comes in. I like to say that if you come without expectations, you'll always find something you'll love, because that's what happens with a lot of bands. A lot of bands, they make this album that transcends and whatnot, and people just want to hear that album over and over. Part 2, part 3, part 4.
Yeah.
You never get that with Haken.
But
you don't have
also,
that
like,
problem.
People don't really want that either.
No. They just think they do. They just think they do.
Yeah.
And like, but why doesn't this sound like this? And that I've never ever heard that from Haken, because everything is always a surprise. Everything is always fresh and new. Mm-hmm. And it with Nightingale, it shows because you're playing 3 different albums. Yeah. And you do have that really aggressive kind of guitar approach in Virus and Vector, but then Nightingale sounds completely different than the other 2. I mean, of course, it has the powerful element of Ryu and Rick being you and Rick, and my brother says that Haken drums are something out of this world. It's just all the elements come together and they form this goo that you just want to So I can't wait. I can't wait to hear the rest, man. It's just sometimes I have lost for words because of excitement. And what I saw there that night in St. Louis was beautiful music, and it was really exciting. And I really can't wait to see what you guys come up with next. And I know that Tiktaalika is just going to grow and lead you to another album that you might come up with if we have another lockdown.
Yeah.
So I'm kidding. No lockdown. No lockdowns. No. Man.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously I having the time was one thing, but also it was like the right time as well, because it was you know, the thing of like, why do a solo album? Well, it's like, well, it was just, a lot of it was like I'd kind of had this idea bubbling for a number of years, but it needs to be the right time to do it. You need to have the right the resources at your disposal to be able to put it together how you want it, and the meeting the right people, and like having a team of people you can draw upon. And so I kind of like probably couldn't have done it before that time anyway, just because of like not having the right people and things in place. But yeah, I definitely have another one. As soon as this.
No pressure, Charlie. No pressure. You're just waiting for the next one,
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to do it. But just right now, we're focused on Haken, and that'll be mixed, in the next month or so. So
yeah, man,
you can consider that done and move on to the next thing.
Move on to the next, right? Yeah. So, Charlie, I want to ask you about Cruise to the Edge before we talk about anything else. I know that you guys do that. You used to do that every year, right? Or at least did it the last couple of years before.
Yeah, we haven't missed one. Yeah,
man. And you guys played with Mike during the Shattered Fortress and everything. And I know that that's a big deal to a lot of people in the prog community. I mean, I'm a cruise goer. I've never been to Cruise on the Edge, and I need to.
Oh, you do.
I need to, because before I've heard of this, I couldn't do it in the year before 2020. I had a whole bunch of things going, and during the actual date, I still had a broken leg, so it was kind of couldn't do it. But it's like a prog conference that's just about having fun and just being in the whole melting pot.
Yeah, I mean, like, I love it, man. Because it's everything. I mean, I love touring because it's you get to see a lot of different places and meet a lot of different people. And it's and it's great. It's like such a luxury, right? Being on a tour bus, and you have someone drive you around, and like you get to go to sleep. It's when you think about it, it's just ridiculous. It's like you go to sleep in one city and you wake up in a new city the next morning, and it's just like, man, I get to go and get coffee somewhere new and see different things and whatnot, and it's just like amazing. And you do the show, and you get to see all the like-minded music fans at the show, but a cruise is just like all of that combined. Like it's the venue, the tour bus, and all the fans together in one thing, and it's just the
whole thing moving everything.
It's just the greatest. It's the greatest. It's the most fun ever.
I can't miss the next one. I gotta go. I gotta make myself make it a thing to plan that way ahead, because I know that.
Yeah, I think they've released a date now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay. Gotta look it up and plan for that. Yeah. Well, Charlie, I want to thank you for your time and repeating yourself for probably the number 15 millionth time. And
always a pleasure.
Thank you for being here at Chillsville, and I hope to see you out on the road soon, or when I go to UK. I'm still trying to figure out how to do the UK tour. It was new efforts to revive old plans that, of course, fell apart because 2020 happened. Mm-hmm. So as soon as that happens, or you come back, we'll go see you again, man.
Yeah, for sure. Can't wait.
Chillsville, Mr. Charlie Griffiths from Haken. Check out his.
I feel so chilled now, man. This really works. It's really.
it's the thing, So we keep it's no secret thing? Oh, no.
Just your
So-
voice. You know.
Yeah, that's right. In the close-ups, the mic close-ups. Check out Tiktaalika on your favorite streaming platform, or get your physical copy directly from Mr. Griffiths at you have a Lookout Records, or Lookout Records, right? Lookout Records.
Inside Out. It's on
Inside Out. Lookout Record. Lookout Records was an old punk label in the early '90s. I don't know why I thought about that. And get your. Can we get any like signed copies or anything like that? Do you have anything set up like that, or
No,
any?
I did sign like they did some pre-order things with like a signed postcard. I did.
Oh, nice.
Thing because it's kind of strange, right? The whole vinyl production being like I had to deliver the final master 6 months in advance. Right?
Wow.
Because of the vinyl production, that's how long you got to get in the queue.
Takes quite a bit, yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of like I wasn't able to actually physically sign the records, but there are signed postcards that some places have.
Well, guys.
But even without the signature, right? The artwork is
No. Just no. But I'm the kind of guy who gets something signed, to have that. Yeah. But yeah, get your physical copy or your digital copy of Tiktaalika, and go see Charlie live when Haken's coming near you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much for being here, sir. Thank you, Chillsvillians, for being here. This is another special presentation about dinosaurs and guitars.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.